Once again, spoilers are inbound. Click off of the video now if you do not want any Undertale spoilers. Papyrus and Sans, the Skeleton Brothers hailing from the quiet town of Snowdin. Now, for those of you who've seen my Frisk video, you may recall what I said at the beginning of that episode. I just personally don't think that he's all that well suited to be a Smash fighter. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Sans. He's my favorite character in the game, and everyone wants him in for a reason.
and I'm certain that he is very capable of being a fighter, but people seem to forget about one glaring flaw with the character. He's lazy. His favorite thing to do is literally nothing.
But that didn't stop you all from requesting him anyways, and I do want to deliver to you guys. So I thought about it for quite some time, and I couldn't really think of any good way to incorporate his character properly. But then it struck me. Sans himself may not be the most willing to get involved with this sort of thing, but his little brother Papyrus, on the other hand, now that's a different story. Oh, hi there, Papyrus. Me? I'm BJ. I'm the host of the show for Super Smash Bros. Moveset ideas. Oh, well, this isn't actually anything official for the game. It's just my own personal ideas for if any... Oh dear. Yeah, can you please explain to your brother that I don't actually have any say in who gets to Super Smash Bros? I just talk about the characters and my ideas for if they could be in the game. Yes, sir, Mr. Papyrus, sir. Thanks. So as I was saying, the Skeleton Brothers with fonts for names would be together as one character. There's of course Papyrus, the royal guardsman in training who will be the main brother that the player would be controlling, and then there's the pun-happy comedian Sans. Comic Sans. I'm curious how many of you didn't get that one until now. Anyways, Sans will only be in the background while Papyrus fights. They're to give him moral support, if you will. Anyways, Papyrus would be an average weight class fighter with only 2 jumps and no additional movement options. Papyrus would actually be a pretty unique character, in that he would have mostly long-range attacks, with all of them being based off of the patterns from his fight in Undertale. They for the most part do have some start lag, but very little end lag, emulating the idea that foes fighting Papyrus should be given the chance to dodge the moves, but this makes sure that Papyrus won't be easily punished for it. The moves would also deal below average damage for the most part. Right. His basic jab would be a one-hit spammable attack that would have him spawn his vertical standing basic bone attack that would slide across the ground for a fixed distance before disappearing. It will disappear automatically if it hits an opponent, and the bone itself would be a little bit shorter than Papyrus. I should also mention that when it comes to bone attacks that specifically slide across the ground, they will stop once they reach the edge of a stage or platform. His dash attack would have him do a quick break while sending 3 bones forwards that all start out taller than himself, but they get shorter the farther they go before disappearing under the ground. So this attack would be better to use when closer to opponents. His side tilt will be just like his jab, except the bone will not be connected to the ground, but instead float in the air, and it wouldn't be as spammable. Papyrus' up tilt would be unique in that it would also act as a type of sidestep. Papyrus would step into the Z-axis and spawn a single bone in the spot where he was standing that shoots straight up into the air. It would go only a little bit higher than his head. His down tilt is also kind of similar to his jab. It would have him spawn a single tiny bone that slides across the ground. To compensate for its size, it's faster and a little bit more spammable. Papyrus' side smash would of course be another vertical standing bone that slides across the ground. And like for his dash attack, it would start off tall, but it gets smaller as it moves forwards. However, the range of this move would increase the longer this move is charged for. And if it's charged for at least longer than half of the charge time, when the bone reaches its shortest height during the attack, it will begin to grow again. At full charge, the bone would end with it being the same size as it started. His up smash would have him summon 5 bones right behind himself that would emerge straight up from the ground in a hill shape, with the middle bone being the tallest and the other bones being shorter the further they are from the middle bone. The middle bone is taller than Papyrus, and the 2 shortest bones on the end of the move would be further away from Papyrus, allowing for some decent horizontal coverage if needed. And his down smash would have him spawn 2 bones that move horizontally across the ground on both sides of himself. They would move about as far as Papyrus' arm length. Papyrus' neutral air would be like his down smash, having him send 2 bones outwards horizontally on both sides of himself. They would travel a tiny bit farther than the down smash would, but the bones would be a bit shorter and wouldn't be as strong. His forward air would have him send forwards 2 bones that are perpendicular with each other, with the lower bone being the longer bone. His back air would be the same, only being sent backwards, and the lower bone would actually be the shorter one instead. His up air would have him spawn 2 bones directly above himself that would be right next to each other at the start, but then separate as the attack continues. And his down air would be the opposite of his up air, spawning 2 bones that start far apart, but then move close together as the attack continues. This move would actually have a sweet spot that can spike opponents if they get caught right in between the 2 bones as they begin to close the gap and touch. Whew. Well, what do you think? Don't worry, this is only the first section. I'll cover everything else in the next ones. Papyrus would grab with both arms, and would pummel foes by having a tiny bone emerge from the ground that hits them from underneath. His forward throw would have him spawn a bone in between himself and the foe that flies right into them, sending them forwards. His back throw would simply have him throw the foe backwards. The up throw would have Papyrus spawn a bone directly underneath the foe's feet that shoots straight upwards, sending them into the air. And his down throw would have him force the opponent down with his blue attack, then have small bones spawn between them that trips the foe, allowing for Papyrus to make possible follow-ups. And that is... Well, you are the Papyrus expert. What would you prefer? That actually sounds really cool. Thank you, Papyrus. Well, yeah, a lot of people do, man. Ask your brother. Let's just move on. For Papyrus' special attacks, he would... Oh, well, actually in Super Smash Bros, you get 4 special attacks, not just 1. Just have a listen and you'll understand. For his neutral special, he would use his blue bones attack. It is in the context of Super Smash Bros, so just roll with it. Anyways, the blue bones attack would have Papyrus shoot vertical standing bones forwards just like for some of his basic attacks. Unlike those moves, however, he can shoot 3 of these bones at a time before needing to cool down, and they'll travel much farther than all of his other attacks. If he uses this attack on the ground, the bones will slide against the ground, but if used in the air, they'll just fly straight forwards, but he'll only be able to shoot 1 bone at a time if used in the air. Don't worry, I didn't forget. This move can only hit opponents who are moving when it collides with them. If a foe is standing still, the bones will just travel right through them, not dealing any damage, just like how the blue attacks work in Undertale. For Papyrus's side special, this would be his signature special attack. But he'll need to get it back from the annoying dog. Upon using the move, the annoying dog would fly out of Papyrus's pocket with a bone in its mouth and begin running around the stage randomly. The dog initially flying out of his pocket would act as a projectile, but after it ends, the dog will not disappear, but instead roam around the stage of its own AI indefinitely, acting generally, well, annoying. It will actively try to pounce other players, dealing small damage to them, while at the same time always actively avoiding Papyrus. And there is a reason why the dog is actively avoiding Papyrus. That bone in its mouth? It's actually a random bone from one of Papyrus's many attacks. So when the player uses this special, the dog will take a bone from any one of Papyrus's basic attacks, and the bone will actually be missing from the randomly chosen attack, nerfing the move or even outright making the attack useless if the move only had one bone to begin with. The dog can also randomly go to sleep at times, where it won't do anything. This can be the chance for Papyrus to catch the dog if the player can't do it normally. If Papyrus is able to get close enough to the dog, it will automatically disappear and Papyrus will take his bone back and the move it was taken from will be restored to normal. However, the dog can actually be attacked by other players, and if it takes too much damage, let's say about 10%, it will automatically disappear, leaving the bone it had behind on the ground. Sure, they can. Or they cannot. Once the bone hits the ground, it'll be treated in the same fashion as King K. Rool's crown. If Papyrus gets close to it, he'll automatically pick it up. But it will behave like an item that opponents can pick up and throw, whether off the stage or at Papyrus. You want to tell him, or should I? In any which case, if the bone is thrown off stage, it will spawn close to Papyrus after a little bit. And overall, Papyrus is only able to use this attack once while the dog is out. If he tries to use it again while the dog is already out, then it won't do anything. Well, it is the annoying dog. It's supposed to be a nuisance to everybody. It's all just a matter of how the player uses it to their advantage. Sorry, my show, my rules. Anyways, for Papyrus's up special, yeah, for this one I needed to stretch a little bit. It would have him do that thing that he does where he literally kinda just ignores gravity and kicks his feet really hard, sending him upwards. This move would only send him upwards, but he is able to move horizontally left and right while doing so. But this will reduce the amount of vertical height he'll gain if he does this. He'd also kinda wiggle as he does it, making it awkward to hit him. This move also wouldn't have any hurtbox on it, so it can't hurt foes, but it also wouldn't put him into free fall, so he can attack afterwards when the move completes. And finally, for his down special, Papyrus would use his fabled blue attack. Yep. Normally what this does in Undertale is turn Frisk's soul blue, which in turn affects their gravity, forcing them to the bottom of the battle box and being required to jump in order to avoid attacks. Actually, come to think of it, since Papyrus is able to affect gravity in this way to Frisk, it probably wouldn't be too far-fetched to assume that he can probably affect his own gravity as well, which is probably how he's able to ignore it in the game, as well as how he made his up special. Huh. even after talking about the annoying dog attack. Anyways, in terms of how the blue attack would work for Smash, it would be a short-range status attack, much like Mewtwo's down special. You do? No, that's not... Oh my god. Let's just move on, please. Anyways, the blue attack would alter the foe's attributes, making them heavier and more sluggish, just like what it does to Frisk's soul in Undertale. The best thing to compare it to is how it feels to be metal during a Smash match, just with none of the super armor or launch resistance. These effects would only last for 5 seconds at a time. For Papyrus's final smash, since the dog still has a special attack, he would instead use his super cool regular attack. It would be a much faster and much more sporadic version of it though, only lasting for about 5 seconds, just like all other final smashes in the game. The stage would be barraged by numerous bone patterns all at once that mimic your fight with him in the game, Cool Dude and Skateboard included. These bones all of course deal small flinching damage, but can be avoided by players who are competent enough. And it would end with a long stretch of bone piles and a giant bone all coming slowly from the right, which can all deal big damage and launch foes who can't avoid it. Papyrus himself will not be active during the smash. He would remain in the background next to Sans, who would be cheering him on in his own Sansy way. Oof. Hold on, I still need a second to recover from that Mewtwo kissy cutie whatever fiasco. Thanks, Papyrus. I always try my best when building these new... yeah? Right. Well, I actually did think of a single way to get Sans involved in fights that would still make sense for his character. And it's actually the biggest reason why you're here, Papyrus. Well, you're not gonna like it. You're going to have to die. So Papyrus will actually have a hidden meter in the form of HP. The amount of HP he has will depend on the rule set of a fight. For stock matches, he'll have 150 HP per stock. So for 2 stocks, he'll have 300 HP, 3 stocks 450, and so on. For timed matches, he'll have 150 HP for every minute on the clock. And for stamina matches, he'll have HP with a ratio of 3 to 4 depending on how much stamina he starts a battle with. So for example, at 200 stamina, he'll have 150 HP. At 400, he'll have 300, and so on. This HP will only be taken into account using damage taken from opponents only. The HP will not go down from damage that Papyrus may inflict on himself, or from other random factors like a bomb walking into him on its own, or the little damage players take from being off screen. It must be damage from other players for it to affect the HP meter. It also will not reset upon each KO that Papyrus suffers. It accumulates over the course of the entire match. So for example, let's say that Papyrus was at 108% of damage when he was KO'd, but then is KO'd right afterwards at only 24% somehow. Overall, his HP meter will be at 132% when he spawns again. Now, of course, you may have already caught on by now, but I'll explain anyway for those of you who haven't. If Papyrus's HP meter reaches 0 during a match, well, he turns to dust. Just like what happens to him in Undertale when his HP drops to 0. And when that happens, well, his opponents are going to have a really bad time. This is what will prompt Sans to leave his spot in the background and join the fight. so he can avenge his brother and bring his scorn upon those who murdered him. As dark as this may be, this honestly is the only thing I can think of to make Sans a fighter for Super Smash Bros. And for it to still fit his character both contextually and thematically. Think about it. Sans, regardless of your decisions in Undertale, will generally always remain your chum. Even if you find yourself with a high level of violence, he'll still be willing to be your pal. There is only one factor in the entire game that will change this, however. One thing that will make Sans no longer want to consider you his friend. And that's if you kill Papyrus. If you do that, that's it. Sans will hate your guts. I am not kidding. There's even an ending where if you kill everybody in the underground except for Papyrus, Papyrus becomes the king, and Sans will still be your chum. All because you didn't hurt his brother. It's who he truly cares about. Yes, I know that Sans doesn't actually fight you unless you do a proper genocide run and kill everybody. But for Smash, this will be a case where everybody, quote-unquote, will just be Papyrus, which really, for Sans, is the only person that matters. Sans as a Smash fighter will fight very similarly to Papyrus, which actually is another reason why this gimmick works so well. Because really, Papyrus and Sans' fights are actually very similar, and have some of the same types of gimmicks, with the biggest differences of course being that Papyrus fights you only like he's trying to neutralize you, and Sans doesn't do that. And before you ask, no, I don't think Sans will work as an Echo fighter for Papyrus, because again, what will actually prompt Sans to want to fight at all? Also, there's no balancing between the two characters here. Sans is powerful. He is literally an all-or-nothing kind of skeleton, and when he joins the fight, he would arguably be one of the strongest characters in Super Smash Bros. I'm sure I may worry some people when I say that, but that would be the point. If you don't want to deal with Sans, then take out Papyrus quickly. As you may recall with Frisk's moveset if you've seen it, it was set up so that the one playing as Frisk had to deal with the consequences of their own actions. But now you're playing as Papyrus, a character in Undertale who leads to various consequences depending on what you do to them. For example, sparing him will have Sans like you, and killing him will have Sans hate you. This will be a case where it's the opponent who will face consequences depending on how they treat Papyrus. In this case, getting KOs without Papyrus's damage racking up too much can be seen as the equivalent of trying to spare him. But if the Papyrus player is competent enough, or if his opponents just are not able to KO him before his HP reaches 0, well, you know the rest. I think I've gotten my point across for the most part. On to the Revenant himself. Sans, despite how much you should be scared of him, would actually have the worst mobility in the game. His walk would be super slow, and even his run would be a power walk at most, still being slower than even some of the slowest walkers in Smash. He would also only have 2 jumps, and even those would be pretty bad, just barely being able to make it to the lowest platform on the battlefield stage even when using both jumps. He'd also be a super lightweight, being very easy to KO, which corresponds to how he only has 1 HP in Undertale. Now some of you who may not know anything about the character may be asking, wait, he only has 1 HP? Then why are people so scared of this guy? Yes, he only has a single point of health, but good luck actually hitting him. Despite his movement and survivability being pathetic, his ability to dodge would be godlike. With literally frame 1 dodges with so little end lag, they can pretty much be spammed. Even with Smash Ultimate's recent addition to adding frames to spammed dodges, Sans practically does not need to worry about this unless he uses them like, a lot! Not even his air dodge would have a whole lot of end lag to it. And his dodge roll, well, if you can even call it a roll, would literally just have him slide away into the chosen direction very quickly, and pretty far too, going about as far as half of the final destination stage. Dodging would pretty much be Sans' main method of moving around. Now if you think that sounds like a huge pain to deal with, I haven't even gotten to his attacks yet. The majority of Sans' attacks would look just like Papyrus's, just with them being a whole lot better. All of Sans' bone-based attacks will have a lot more range than Papyrus's, are a lot faster, and are a lot more spammable. That said, every single one of his attacks will only deal a set 1% of damage, as Sans only deals 1 hit point of health for his attacks in Undertale. That may not seem like a big deal, That is until you realize that his attacks are all multi-hitting and deal 1% of damage for every millisecond your soul is overlapping them. On top of that, Sans' attacks in Undertale poison Frisk, causing them to lose health as time passes each time after they're hit. So the same will be done for Smash in a sense. All of Sans' attacks will only deal 1% of damage, but because of how spammable they are, the damage will probably rack up pretty quickly. And on top of that, all of his attacks will cause a poison effect on opponents that will last for 5 seconds at a time each time they're hit. So that's something to keep in mind when going into Sans' attacks. I'll be sure to mention any specific deviation that they have from Papyrus' moves, or of course if the move was changed outright. To recap, all of his bone-based attacks are faster, more spammable, having very little start and end lag, and have a lot longer range. Of course, starting with Sans' jab, it would have him shoot long-range vertical standing bones across the ground just like Papyrus, but they'd be much taller. His dash attack is similar to Papyrus's, but he shoots 4 bones instead of 3, and they do not shorten in size the farther they go. They stay the same size. His side, up, and down tilts would all be similar as well, but the side tilt would have a slightly longer bone shot, the up tilt would thrust 3 bones upwards instead of just 1, and the down tilt would actually have a ridiculous range compared to the other attacks, being able to travel almost the whole distance of the final destination stage. For Sans' side smash, this would be the first one that outright changes. Instead of more bones, Sans will utilize his most deadly weapon, the Gaster Blaster, an anti-human weapon designed by the mysterious former royal scientist Dr. W.D. Gaster. These weapons are powered by magic and fire a laser called the Fission Beam that can ignore all physical matter and attack one's soul directly. Ouch. This smash would behave rather oddly, where it doesn't fire as soon as Sans' animation for the side smash ends. It would appear in the spot where Sans initiates the side smash and would fire after a second, firing a beam that goes even farther than Simon Belmont's whip attacks. The thing is, Sans will be able to move even before the blaster fires, but it will always remain in the spot where he summoned it. The laser beam itself does deal multi-hitting damage and has a lot of launch power. But of course, each of those hits that it deals only causes 1% of damage at a time, just like for the rest of his attacks. Charging the smash will not increase its power because of this, but it will instead delay when the cannon will be fired is all. Sans' up and down smashes will be just like Papyrus's, but his up smash will have all 5 bones be the same size instead of in a hill motion, and the down smash will be pretty much just like Papyrus's, but with Sans' attributes. For aerials, Sans' neutral air will have him spawn 4 bones instead of just the 2 that are shot horizontally. The 2 extra bones will be thrown vertically upwards and downwards while in a horizontal position. And for his other 4 cardinal aerials, they would all be replaced by thinner versions of the Gaster Blasters that would fire into each respective direction. And they would function just like they do for a side smash, only they would be a little bit faster to come out, but have a thinner and worse range than the side smash. They will go and stay in the spot where Sans spawned it, even after Sans moves away, and then fire a second later. Sans, of course, has a much stronger hold on gravity than Papyrus does, which we can gather pretty easily due to how much the guy throws Frisk's soul around during your fight with him. So he would grab foes simply by holding his hand forward and catching them with the psychokinesis of his own blue attack. He'd pummel by impaling the foe with a long bone from underneath. Major ouch. For his forward, back, and up throws, he'd use his psychokinesis powers to throw the foe in each appropriate direction. And if you thought Ness's back throw was scary, oh boy! That is literally child's play compared to Sans's, with all 3 of those throws being kill throws. And his down throw would have him float the foe into the air, and then have a bunch of bones emerge from the ground, which he then slams the foe into, dealing large damage. If Sans gets a hold of you, you're pretty much done. There is one thing foes can breathe easy about with these throws, however. Since Sans's mobility is so garbage, good luck actually being able to grab anybody. But if he does, you're gonna get dunked. For Sans' neutral special, he would spawn the Blue Bones attack just like Papyrus, and aside from the fact that they're faster and much more spammable like the rest of his attacks, he can shoot 5 at a time before needing to cool down. I mean, if you can even call it a cooldown. Also, the bones would appear in random sizes, unlike Papyrus's consistent size for his Blue Bones. For his side special, however, there's no dog, just more Gaster Blasters. He'd be able to fire a Gaster Blaster into any direction, and he can hold the charge for this attack for as long as he wants, so long as the special button remains to be held down. The laser itself functions just like it does for the side smash and the aerials. It may seem lame just to give him more Gaster Blasters, but Sans isn't trying to be flashy. He just wants you dead for what you did to his brother. So he's not going to try to show off. He's just going to use what he knows will work. His up special would be your run-of-the-mill teleport, where he would disappear in the blink of an eye into a small black fog, then reappear into any chosen direction a fair distance away. This would not put Sans into freefall, allowing him to use any move except for the up special again right afterwards. This would be another great means for Sans to move around aside from just dodging. And his down special would be just an enhanced version of Papyrus's blue attack. It does the exact same thing, making the foe's movement sluggish, but it has a much larger range than Papyrus's does, and its effects last for 15 seconds instead of just 5. This is of course on top of the fact that it would have very little start and end lag. I can see this move being one of the scariest things to get hit by, because now you'll be moving at around the same pace as Sans, making it easier for him to catch you. For Sans' final smash, he would use his strongest attack, which would be his opening attack that he throws at you at the beginning of his fight in the game. So yeah, good luck dodging that one. And that pretty much does it for Sans. Yes, I know this looks and sounds terrifying, and not very fair to deal with. Well, you know what's also not fair? For your brother to be murdered for no reason. So, just be smart with how you deal with Papyrus, and you won't have to deal with Sans' wrath. What? But... Yeah! You're the coolest, Papyrus! No one can lay a single phalanges on you! Alrighty then. Why don't we just finish things up? Papyrus and Sans' default outfits would of course be in their usual getup, having Papyrus in his white battle body armor with his red scarf, and Sans wearing his usual blue jacket. Their first alternate color would have them purely black and white, which are the colors that monsters you fight in Undertale take when you battle them. Their next color would give Papyrus a green scarf, and Sans a pink jacket. This is not a real reference to anything, it's just an original color scheme. And it would be the same for their next alt, giving Papyrus a purple scarf and Sans a yellow jacket. Their next would actually invert their colors, giving Papyrus Sans' color scheme, and likewise for Sans with Papyrus' color scheme. Their next alt would make Papyrus' armor a dark gray color, and Sans would be given a white jacket. This would actually be in reference to Undyne's armor and Alphys' lab coat respectively. The next would be the first alternative outfit, and it would have Papyrus wear his cool dude outfit that we see him wear when you hang out with / date him. Now the only thing about this costume is that we don't actually have an official color scheme for it, so these colors that I have here will have to do for now, but this can be subject to change depending on future updates. And his final costume would have him wearing his Jog Boys outfit, the same one we see him wear when he helps Alphys train. Again, no official color scheme, so this will have to do for now. Sans, unfortunately, does not wear anything else aside from his jacket, so he'll just have to have an orange jacket for the Cool Dude alt and a brown jacket for the Jog Boys alt. Does he at least wash it? But don't you have to buy all the new jackets? Change in the... Oh! I get it. Anyways, for their stage intro, Papyrus would come to fights in style, driving his sports car, and Sans would follow suit with his tricycle, and or moped. I'm not actually sure what that is. For their taunts, Papyrus first would have him stomping his feet on the ground like we see him do whenever he gets angry or throws tantrums, which is no doubt what he's probably doing right now. His second would have him pull out the dating manual, flip through its pages, then toss it away. He needs to be ready for any possible future dates with the other fighters after all. And his final would have him pondering to himself about the situation at hand, which is actually a reference to an unused sprite that Papyrus has where he does just that. For Sans' taunts, his first would have him shrug and shake his head towards the screen, then give a wink. His second would have him pull out a bottle with a random condiment inside and chug it down. It could be like ketchup, mustard, horseradish, whatever, it's random. And his final would just have him stare at the screen with his creepy blank eyes, as if he's looking directly at the player who murdered his brother. Ooh, that gave me the chills just thinking about that. And finally, for victory animations, Papyrus first would have him hold his hands to his cheeks while blushing, then do his cool pose as his cape flows triumphantly in the wind, with Sans behind him clapping for his bro. His second would have Papyrus' back be towards the camera at first, but then turn around with a plate of his world-famous spaghetti in hand, and offer it towards the camera as a sign of friendship. Sans would just be sleeping in the background behind him. And his final pose would have Papyrus laughing, only for Sans to appear and plague him with his incidental music from his trombone, making Papyrus angry and start to stomp his feet while Sans just slightly chuckles. For Sans' victory pose, his first would have him stare at the screen with his blank eyes, then the screen will blink black, and when it unblinks, he'll be gone. His second would have him just sleeping there, no doubt using his special attack on his defeated opponents. And his final would have Sans attack the camera and cover it with a large amount of bones. Then a text box would appear and it would say his signature line. Oh, welcome back. Where's Papyrus? Okay, well I just finished. Do you want to give any final thoughts? Oh, then would you like to say anything to the audience? Alright then. In any which case, if you all enjoyed what you saw and would like to see even more characters be given possible Smash movesets in the future, be sure to subscribe. Okay, that one was just bad. Yeah. See you around, I guess. Alright, anyways, if you have a character that you would like to request to be given a possible Smash moveset to, be sure to leave a comment down below, or contact me on Twitter at BroFrame1 on Twit. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching!